Obviously, your linebacker group, you got two really experienced veterans returning. They lead that room, but what is coming together behind those guys?
Well, the depth is the biggest thing. With DJ Lundy coming back, Tatum and DeLoach, Omar Rhodes was the key. And last year we kept him back. We always practiced him on second team just in case something would happen in the game. And probably the last 4 or 5 games of the season, he turned it to his own. And then when you come back in spring, he was like, wow, this is Omar. He's a first teamer, playing with the ones, running around, having fun, communicating, talking, and being more aggressive than I've ever seen him been. And we're excited about that group. Now we got to get a couple of guys to come in from us as freshmen that are coming in. You never know who's going to help us, but we're going to continue to grow those young guys and keep them going.
What are kind of the signs that you see from a backer that tells you, yeah, they're taking that next step? Maybe things that you saw from Omar in that middle part of last year.
Well, the natural stuff, something that you don't have to coach. You see all of a sudden he'll shoot a gap unexpectedly, or he'll do something, don't make the same mistakes. When those guys continue to do those things, like you make a mistake, but then you don't make that same mistake coming back. You just keep growing. And when you have guys like that can do that, you can say, hey, this guy's going to be ready to play this season.
How confident are you with that top 4 if Omar does truly emerge like you guys feel like he's capable of?
Really confident in those guys are doing a good job. If you noticed last year we had 4 guys because we had a lot of nicks and bangs up last year. But you know what? With today's the way the game is, you got to make sure you play your best guys, but you got to rest them. And now, like anything else, those 4 guys that we have, we're going to give them some reps. But them young guys got to take some load off of us. We're looking at somebody in that group, maybe 2 guys that can come in, 3 guys can come in. You never know, that can come in and give us like 15 plays a game, 20 plays a game. Now that takes a load off him, and he can play fresh that way.
At ACC kickoff, Mike Norvell buzzed a little bit when Blake Nicholson's name came up. Kalen DeLoach said, he stands out in player run workout stuff. I know you've had limited time with him since he got to campus, but what are early impressions with him?
Blake is a big-time athlete, like I thought in high school. He's a guy that, a typical linebacker, played multiple positions in high school, played some running back, played some safety, played linebacker. He did it all. And his speed and his quickness and his burst is unbelievable. And that's the type of guy you want on the team. And he's coachable, he's learning, he's trying to do everything we want to ask of him.
With Kalen and Tatum being graybeards, guys that have played a lot of plays for you, understand the system wholeheartedly, what does that allow them to do differently this year versus prior to this year?
Well, they have to put a load in their shoulders because they got guys who are behind them that also can help them get to where they're going at, but also they got some leadership, understanding the game. They understanding the games that we lost last year and how we lost those games. And when those things come up in the game, there's the fact that you got to stay calm now. You can't panic because things may not be going right at that time. It's all about having your mental focus and be mentally tough to stay in focus on what we're trying to get done.
Kalen always praises Tatum for kind of helping him along, especially when you took over as linebackers coach, because Tatum had a familiarity with you. What is it that relationship is when you're viewing it as the position coach, just what Tatum and Kalen mean to one another?
They're very competitive. They push each other. And that's the one thing that you have to have a linebacker that's very competitive. Not backing down from competition, but embracing competition. That every day you're trying to, have a friendship, but also a competitive friendship, that you're trying to do better than the next man that's in the room that's doing better. But also congratulating him when he's doing it. But also if stuff not going right and he's not doing the things he need to get done, hey, you got to make sure you get this corrected, man. It's going to hurt us.
I think the defense returns 8 of 11 starters. Obviously, a lot of other guys with a lot of experience as well are returning. How does that allow the linebackers, but the entire defense, kind of play freely with an understanding of one another and how they play?
Well, the one thing is when you have a great defense, you can play multiple guys. And if we can go in and play about up front at D-line, if we can play 8 to 9 D-liners, if we can play 5 or 6 linebackers, if we can play at least 5 corners, if we can play at least 3 or 4 safeties, we're going to be pretty good on defense. And the big challenge is with the defense is that we as coaches and as a defensive staff and a defensive team, they got to understand about pushing themselves to chase the ball. And that's the one thing, because you can have a lot of talent coming back and a lot of returning starters. And you can get complacent, but this guy's going to make the play. You can't count on anybody making plays. You have to be aggressive and challenge yourself that you're going to be the guy to make the play.
You talked about potentially 5 or 6 linebackers. I presume those 5th and 6th roles preseason camp will help determine a lot with regards to who you feel comfortable can do that out of the gate.
Yes, we will. And one thing that I would do, we would do on defense, like we'll put a upperclassman, like we'll put a Tatum, maybe with a Blake or with a Dylan or maybe DeMarco, and see how they respond. Same thing with DeLoach. We'll put those guys with a younger guy and say, okay, you go with the 2s, and see how they respond, because now you're not going with the 3s, you're going with the 2s. And if a guy progresses, then we'll put him in with the 1s with an older guy. never put two young guys together when you put them at the second team or the first team because they get panicky and they're not communicating. But you put it with an older guy, then things are happening, they're communicating, have a great time.